Well, hey everybody, welcome to this week's Equip for our Freedom Servant leaders. Wanted to share with you that today at our staff meeting, I took the time to share with those who were in attendance today all of my excitement for what God is doing in our midst. You know, it's been kind of easy during this COVID-19 situation with shutdowns and quarantines and, should we open the doors? Should we not open the doors? Should we wear masks? Should we not wear masks? And all of that. You know, I've been lamenting some over the past couple of months about how we started the year with this idea that, man, we're going to push forward. We've got this 2020 vision plan. And, you know, I've honestly been thinking, well, God, you know, we've kind of been on hold with all of that because of everything else. But this morning I had a totally different perspective because God showed me all that He has been doing to accomplish the forward motion on that which we committed ourselves to in December that we were going to do. And I just went down one ministry after another talking about how God has been at amazing work and my deep appreciation for every servant leader in our church. Now, one of the things I think that we sometimes get confused about is that term leader. An awful lot of people think leader means a title, that you have some kind of title or some kind of position in the church. And certainly everyone in this thread does have some kind of position, and some of you have titles that call you a team leader or a minister of this or you know, some kind of title that goes with your position that you hold or your role that you're doing. And yet leadership is not a position. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is what it is. It's leading others. And the truth is that many people lead best when they don't have a title and when they don't have a position. In fact, sometimes it can get in the way. But God has certainly provided so many examples of His provision over these last few months. I think about things like, you know, we now have an online presence with our Sunday service. It's getting better every single week. I look at what's happening in our nursery. If I could just tell you the stories of how God has shifted our nursery ministry from some lethargy and some babysitting to some true ministry. We have curriculum in there now. We're adding equipment to the nursery so that the children are more than just being babysat. What we've done in children's ministry with Jason being named our children's ministry, impact groups with Joel's leadership in that, the college, Celebrate Recovery, not missing a single Thursday night, and having a program every single week, even in the shutdown. And I could just go on and on and on and on, every single ministry in the church, how God is moving. And as I'm watching people raised up, I'm watching people being sat yesterday right after church in our discovery gathering with people interested in connecting with our church. Did you know that we just had 7 people finish the connections process last month? We have now 5 or 6 that are going through it this month. Just before the shutdown, we had 4. That's just in this whole mess of a thing called COVID-19, how we have had more than a dozen people engage in the ministry of our church, and it's amazing. Visitors every single Sunday. God is at work. But, you know, I've been focusing on the people that have been stepping up and coming into place. And I was reminded in 1 Chronicles chapter 12. So what's going on in this particular part of God's Word is David is in the middle part of being anointed to be the king over Israel by Samuel, and his actually becoming the king of Israel. Now, you may have thought, okay, yeah, he was given a position by God, and he was given a title, king of Israel, and it all just fell together. If that's what you think, you need to read the entire thing of the jealousy of Saul, and Saul coming after David to kill David, and David being on the run, and David being on the hideout before all of this comes. And then just at the right moment, God brings along, they're called the men of Issachar. And it's a mighty army of men that come along David's side. And I want to read the last part of 1 Chronicles 12, because those of you in this thread, those of you watching this, are like the mighty men of Issachar were to David. You are to me as your pastor. And I want you to know I love you and I appreciate you so deeply. In verse 30, it says, all these were fighting men who volunteered to serve in the ranks. They came to Hebron fully determined to make David king over all Israel. All the rest of the Israelites were also of one mind to make David king. The men spent 3 days there with David, eating and drinking, for their families had supplied provisions for them. Also their neighbors, as far away as Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali, came bringing food on donkeys, camels, mules, and oxen. There were plentiful supply of flour, fig cakes, raisin cakes, wine, oil, cattle, for there was joy in Israel. There are four things that this mighty group of men, these leaders, if you will, that came along. One is, it says they volunteered. They weren't getting paid to do this. There was nothing in it for them except coming alongside David in a time of trouble. They were committed. It says that they came there fully determined. They were a people that had a whole heart to serve God and the call of God. It says that they came to Hebron determined to make David king. All the rest of the Israelites were of one mind. There was a unity among them on the vision and the call. And then they demonstrated their relationship by doing more than just coming and doing their part and going home. They fellowshiped together. They ate meals together. They brought food. They brought supplies. They brought the needs to David. Well, that's who the Freedom Servant leaders have been. That's who you are. And that's who God has called you to be. I want you to know how much I appreciate you so deeply. So many moving parts these days. I realize that some right now are not able, due to this pandemic, to necessarily participate with us in terms of their presence. That's okay. I don't want you to feel guilty about that. I don't want you to feel judged for that. I want you to feel loved by me for the role that you play, because you're praying and you're supporting and you're loving and you're there to be called upon for anything. And I appreciate you deeply. Those of you on the front line, on the worship team, in the impact groups, leading this, leading that, working in the nursery, working with children, working with our youth. And we just had 2 youth on top of the 12 or so adults who went through the connections process. We had 2 youth that went through the connections process. There's so much going on. God is so much at work. But remember those 4 principles. Let them guide us as we move forward. Number 1, let's not do it for self-interest. They volunteered, it says. Number 2, let's do it with our whole heart. Let's not have a divided heart over what it is God has called us to do. Let us have a united vision. Let there be unity among us. Let us have one mind together. And then let us demonstrate our relationship with each other by being patient with one another, loving one another, being ready to give grace to one another, being ready to give forgiveness and mercy that maybe you think you don't have any left, but you do, because God is in you and He has forgiven you of much. And let us fellowship together by demonstrating our relationship with one another. A lot of things on the move, folks. A lot of things happening. 2 big ones I'll share with you that are on the horizon for us. Keep watching out and listening for announcements regarding new leadership being raised up in our church into eldership shepherding in our church. That's coming very soon. Number 2, we are working on a partnership currently with an African American church in Gifford that I'm already in relationship with, but we're working on formalizing a partnership with them to demonstrate unity in the community by worshiping together, by having fellowship together, by serving each other's church. Very excited about that. And then finally, with that being said, we also have some exciting news to share about what we'll call the Fresh Start Ministry, helping people find God, those who are seeking God, and that's all coming up. Lots of things to share, but in the meantime, I want you to know I love you, I appreciate you, and I am so thrilled that you are a part of the Freedom Servant Leadership Team. Have a blessed day.